PSL newcomers, Moors and Scotland, both announced their arrival in the domestic top flight with wins on the opening weekend of the season. They were among the top 4 teams. So actually, they are among the top 4 teams, and they picked up maximum points this past weekend together with Herentals and Manica Diamonds. They were 10 goals from the 9 matches on match day 1, down from 20 last season. Herentals were the only team that managed to score more than 1 goal, as they scored 2. With Tel 1 scoring 1, and there were 3 goalless draws this past weekend. The big 3 all failed to register wins, as Caps United and Dynamos were both held to draws by Greenfield and ZBC Kariba respectively. Highlanders failed to cash out against the Moors. So this is where we find ourselves. I know it's a bit tricky, what we're talking about, is PSL making a comeback, and you want to do a comparison, hey, because the numbers don't lie. Last season, there were 20 goals on the opening weekend. But this weekend, just what? 9 goals.
Because I think from a goals perspective, you can say, all right, maybe not necessarily what we saw at the end of last season. But I think for me, the comeback, probably we have to lean into the engagement, the excitement, and just the conversations that have been happening around the PSL in the transfer window. I think when you look at the transfer window, it was probably the most disruptive and the most exciting we've seen, I think, in a very, very long time. You look at that star-studded Scotland team. I know me and Vera and some of our colleagues were a bit frustrated during that game, when the socialites and the influencers, elbowed us out of our usual sitting spot at the stadium. But I think for me, it was that renewed interest in the game. Yes, for me, I'm not too concerned about the drop in goals from the opening day from 20 to 10, but I'm more encouraged by what happened in terms of Scotland winning on the opening day and Moors winning on the opening day. But the conversation has always been around the idea of teams struggle when they come from Division 1 to the top flight. And yes, you look at the Scotland win and even the Moors win, not the prettiest, but there was a lot of hype and a lot of pressure. If you were at Rufaro on Friday, I remember seeing, as in Kevin Moyo, I think he was nowhere near the goal when it was scored, but the way he rushed towards the bench and he was pumping his fist, you could tell that there was a lot of pressure on Scotland. And even when you looked at the weird dynamic that was in the stadium, because Triangle is from the southeast Lowveld, and I can promise you there were probably not more than 100 bona fide Triangle fans in that stadium. But in parts, you could hear people either cheering on Triangle, especially Menashe Bamara, Rasta, and that excitement. There were a lot of neutrals who were at that game, and maybe a lot of haters as well, wanting Scotland to fail, because they really came out and they were very out there in terms of their ambition, in terms of their spending, and until that moment when there was that era from a Scotland, from a Triangle perspective, it looked like there was an upset on the card. So for me, that was exciting. And then for Moors, with their limited preparations, given that I think they only confirmed their status, I think mid to late January, and then going to face a Highlander side that's got one of the richest histories, it's one of the biggest clubs, if not the biggest club in Zimbabwe, to get a result. I think it then feeds into the hype, because it was Moors, Scotland, transfer window. We've known what Dynamos, Highlanders and Caps have done over the last couple of seasons, and when you look, you have to go back to 2016. That's the last time either of the big 3 won anything. So I think people are looking for renewal, and I think there was a lot of pressure even from neutrals. That's why you saw so many people coming to Rufaro on Sunday to say, all right, now that this Scotland has come and has disrupted everything, are we going to see anything different? Because I think we've been waiting for Dynamos to come back, but Dynamos will always...
So let me ask that question to Veronica.
Yeah.
Build up to the 2025 season, Scotland dominating headlines, left, right and centre. From what you saw on Friday, are they bringing in something different?
I wouldn't say they are bringing in anything different as such, but the fact that they did big business during the off-season, it generated a lot of interest within the fans. They wanted to see Kuti, these guys who were signed 100,000, who were signed 40,000, that studded team, how much is it going to give us? Is it going to tally with the business that they did? So that was much of the interest from the fans. They wanted to see how much they spent.
Are you suggesting we're going to see that interest waning off as the season progresses?
If the past 2 or so seasons, if what we have seen in the past 2 or so seasons is going to happen this season, with the progression of the PSL season, fans start to decline, especially if the teams are not performing according to their expectation. So if Scotland is going to improve from what they gave us last week, we are going to see more of this up until the end of the season. But if their game is not going to improve, or if it's going to deteriorate from what we saw last week, then I'll assure you that we are going to see less and less fans, because the excitement, they know what they're going to face. Then also what Scotland did, especially on the media side, their media kept the fans so engaged during the off-season. They would interact with fans through the social media. Mm-hmm. So I think that also generated a lot of interest, because from following them on Facebook, they just got so keen when we get to the pitch, is this what I'm going to see? So I think it's high time that other clubs also learn Kuti, this social media is the biggest tool if they are going to win themselves.
Konapo, ipapo.